All right. Maybe we'll do a little introduction just because it is...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to hell. Yeah. This is what we're going through. This is
absolutely the first time we've started.
This is definitely not the third time we've tried to introduce you to our new podcast, Scratch Tracks.
So what is Scratch Tracks?
So Scratch Tracks is a companion piece to our regular podcast, which is just called the Idle Pod. Basically, a scratch track, what it is in studio terms, is a rough guide song that you play in your ears. It's got all of the edges still on it. It's very rough, and it guides you till you make something complete. And I think that's a really good sort of way to describe what this podcast is supposed to be. It's kind of just us. What it's been. It's supposed to just be us just chatting and I guess you guys getting to know us a little better. We have a social media manager now. We're moving up in the world, and she said it might be a really good opportunity for us to reach out. So we're going to use this as our vehicle to get ourselves out there, I suppose.
Hi, my name is Cody Robbie. I like long walks on the beach and pina coladas and singing in the rain.
Hi, my name's Tyler. I like to sing the high notes in songs that I absolutely have no business singing. And for some reason, I keep getting Isaac Asimov and Gregory Alan Isakov confused. They are not the same person.
But they're so similar. They're so similar.
Right?
And my name is Pace. I am the guitarist and occasional songwriter for the Idle Minds. We should introduce you actually. So Tyler is not actually a member of the band, but he's a person that keeps us.
He sings the high notes.
He keeps us on our toes, and he's the man behind the camera, but now in front of it. So he's going to be our Sherpa on this little adventure and take us through some of these questions that we want to get out to you guys. This first episode is very relaxed. We're just going to go through some questions and kind of we're demonetized on YouTube before we even began.
That's your seventh beer tonight. That's your seventh beer tonight. You have to get right on, dude.
So anyway, Tyler's going to be the Sherpa on our adventure. He's going to lead us through those questions because we have a habit of getting off track. For the record, this is the third time we've tried to do the first episode of Scratch Track, so it might possibly be cursed. But we're going to do what we can do, and we're going to get through it, and we'll see how it goes. So, all right, Tyler, let's get us in.
Cool. So, quick fire introduction. Who are you and what do you play, Cody?
My name is Inigo Montoya, and I play the keyboard and I shout in key for the Idle Minds.
And I am Pace, also known as Johnny Sunshine on occasion. I play the guitar, and as I said, I sometimes write the songs.
So what actually got you into music in the first place, Pace?
So it would be my dad. My dad was my biggest influence in music. He's the reason that I started playing the guitar in the first place. So my dad always has played the guitar, and I think he was my inspiration sort of to get into it. And he was my guitar teacher for the longest time. So if it wasn't for him, I probably would never picked up the guitar in the first place.
Nice.
I would mimic and piggyback off of Pace there, and my dad for sure. My dad and my brother were both musicians, both songwriters, both lovers of all genres, and they just guided me towards learning how to write songs, play songs, do music, be music.
So, what kind of instruments did they play?
Both. Miles plays like metal guitar, blues guitar, love the electric, and then my dad was he was in a punk band when he was a kid. And like a teenager, and then he just picked up the acoustic guitar, and that's been his go. He's like Peter Frampton-y, lovely, beachy stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
How'd you end up tickling the ivory, so to speak, with your parents?
Well, obviously being the black sheep of the family, all these guitarists, I'm like, yeah, but we go something different. And so I just challenged the norm a bit, and a little bit of sugar in the tank, and thought, why not? Let's play that. Let's play some jazz chords in the house. But yeah, that's how I started. That's how I love the keyboard.
And so why the guitar and not like the mandolin?
Well, I guess Dad only ever had guitars in the house, really. I suppose if he was a drummer, that maybe would be where I would go. But yeah, Dad was still plays the guitar, both acoustic and electric, and I was lucky enough that he was interested in music, and he had both acoustic and electrics, and it's good having a parent that plays too because you get to steal all their instruments, and despite despite what they might say, they're kind of happy that you do it, at least. He will complain that I steal his matins and stuff, and if it wasn't for him playing, I'd still probably have an Ashton, Strat-inspired, absolute garbage beginner guitar. So I've been blessed in many ways that Dad's been a guitarist so that I could steal them my whole life, and still do. So.
I think he buys them. He's a good player too, but I think he buys them so that you're playing them so he can really hear it.
Yeah.
He sells himself short. He thinks he's not very good, but he's excellent.
Yeah, and overhypes me. But that's honestly the parent that you want is the parent who thinks you're the greatest thing on the earth, and I know that Dad thinks that. So.
Yeah. Nice. Alrighty, so band origin story. So how did the band form? How did you guys come together?
There is two sides to this. So
first, Pace decided to jump on the leaky boat that was Standalone, the prog gothic English accent Cody, who thought he was cool for making conceptual, as piano put it, as Pace put it. Sorry, piano Pace, Johnny Piano,
Johnny Guitar.
Johnny Guitar.
No, he said it was Metal Whitlams, and that's so accurate. That's what it was. I was trying to be the Metal Whitlams on a keyboard. But no, basically me and Pace got together through that band, through the drummer tricked Pace into joining this terrible thing, and then Pace started whispering in my ear like the Green Goblin, saying we should make stuff that's not shit like this. And I said, hey,
Just like that?
you're right. He's like, hey, dude, just quietly, this shit fucking sucks.
This is mid.
This is so mid, bro.
Like, that's piss.
Yeah. That's piss.
And
That's piss.
and so we just were like, and I listened to him, and lo and behold, we started making great music. And then the other dudes were like, hey, this new stuff sucks. And we're like, actually, this is like way better. So you guys can get out of here. And so one by one, we killed them all and buried them. And the other minds,
left alive?
I neither confirm nor deny.
Actually, we should say Connor, our former drummer, is now the guitarist in Depuration. So it's a great metal band from Brisbane. So
he's a lovely guy.
Excellent,
nothing but love for that guy.
And he was actually
pop song to save his life. He hates it.
Found his calling in the end, which is ironic because before I came to Standalone, that had never really formed into Idle Minds, I like to say I was in a band with Connor and some friends, which is how I never really met Cody. We weren't in a metal band, and I was never going to be in a metal band. It was just a bunch of guys that thought it would be cool to say they were in a band. We had no business being there, playing that Squire Strat, pretending I knew that I was going to be, Kirk Hammett or someone from Megadeth or something. It's never going to happen. And then it just so happens that you guys won a battle of the bands, and Connor posted about it, and I said I'd rather, he asked if I wanted to come, and I said I'd rather be in a band than see one. And it just so happens that at the time you guys were still in school and had your music teacher as the guitarist. So
a balding 45-year-old guitarist that would just do crazy shredding over these ridiculous, terrible songs.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to come in and steal my current position, and when Standalone folded, I think the Idle Minds just formed as the brain trust of us two. So
Nice. So you went from Standalone to Idle Minds. What was that first gig like as Standalone, and how does that compare to your first gig as the Idle Minds?
So just imagine, if you would, Verdun during the First World War, and these young men are being plunged into darkness and hell and evil, and just remove the two terrifying imageries of the Axis and the Allies, and replace it with a PCYC and the worst sounding PA you could possibly imagine, and us poor souls thinking, oh, we'll have a good set, and then some idiot being in the front of the band going, the song's in A minor and it's going to be really good and please like us. And,
Cody hadn't quite developed stagecraft as of yet, so would have this habit of, instead of saying things like, this song's about, or, if you're going through this, maybe you'll find something in this song, and he would instead say, this song's in A minor.
Yeah. You guys really want to know this stuff. You guys are going to really like it.
Just in case you might want to go home and cover it or something. I don't know.
It's the chords are, and it's in 4, and the BPM is...
Yeah, so, look, Standalone took us to ABC Radio and to the PCYC in Mount Gravatt. So it was big things. And then Standalone, we started with open mics at Soul Bar on the Sunshine Coast. Because Yeah. So the Idle Minds, we started in the Sunshine Coast because we used to live in Biwa before we moved to Brisbane, and we kind of worked our way to playing the back room in the Sunshine Coast at Soul Bar. So shout out to Mel from the Soul Bar, excellent woman. And then the fact that the Idle Minds went from those open mics to opening for Daryl Braithwaite feels like we knew that there was something more. Whereas I never really got that with Stanley. It always felt like there was like it was like
eventually something is going to blow this thing apart.
Things were falling apart. It just felt like a plane that was tacked together with duct tape and blue tack.
It's like an episode of Hoarders when you're walking, you're like, how's this building still standing? There's like diapers and cheese and cockroaches in here. What's going on?
Newspapers and bottles.
Yeah, the first few gigs with the Idle Minds and that have continued on have felt like going from a Cessna duct taped with the window, the windows are duct taped, to flying in a Concorde, from New York to LA. Like it just felt like this, London to New York. It's just this absolute beastly thing that just feels right. So
nice.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Oh, well, I mean, musical influences. Surely you've both got a ton. But who are your biggest musical inspirations, and how have they shaped your music?
Well, as everyone knows from the music that we make, my influences are Avenged Sevenfold, they are Breaking Benjamin, they are Suicide Silence. No, I love metal, but I can't write it to save my life, so we don't do that stuff. But the Whitlams, Frank Turner, Blue October, Rob Thomas, named after his son. Shout out Rob and Cody.
And also Rob.
Yeah, Rob. Take 3, dude.
Yep.
You might be in take 4. Yeah, those dudes. Just anyone from 2000s rock, Creed, shout out. Yeah, just anything that had guitars in it from 2000s, I'm all about it. I was like, yeah, please, let me be that. Let me do that. What about you, Pace?
Some musical influences, did you say? It's kind of a really interesting one because I think I've had so many phases with genres. Like, if you go back early days, I think there was a few key ones, and that was namely... Like, my parents really were into hair metal in, like, the 80s. But my grandparents probably instilled a really interesting amount of genre. So, like, for instance, like, my granddad is a huge Beatles fan and loves anything 70s and, 60s and 70s. So that filters into my mum's musical interests. And then Dad is interesting because he grew up with 80s hair metal, like bands like Skid Row and Cinderella and Bon Jovi and all these, like, Skid Row, like, all these bands. But his dad, my grandfather, is really into country music. So at the same time that I was listening to Slave to the Grind and Slippery When Wet, I was listening to The Man Who Steadies the Lead.
Leave him out there in the long yard, do not rush him.
It's two completely opposing things. But somewhere in the wash, bands like Bon Jovi, Keith Urban, which is like a little bit of country inspiration. Like John Mayer is a more contemporary one, but like I separate it by sort of like eras. If I can, it sounds like that's such a TikTok term and a Taylor Swift term now. But as a young kid, it was a lot of 80s hair metal and country music. And then as I've grown older, I've discovered the blues. But my dad was also really into B.B. King. So I don't know, I've had these weird kind of blues influences and then contemporary rock, and then I discovered Rage Against the Machine and Rise Against, and I love those guys. So it's really hard to pick, but yeah, those are all there's just a small sliver of the people that I'm forgetting that have sort of shaped me, I think.
Was there a particular like album or artist or even song that made you say like, fuck yeah, like I'm going to make music because of that, man? And if so, what was it?
You want to go first?
I don't know if there was ever a specific moment in time, but I do remember when I was.
He heard Stanley, and he's like,
when I heard the Catering to Madmen EP by Standalone that's still on Spotify. That was when everything changed.
It's when the Fire Nation attacked.
No, it was. If I had to pick something, it would be pretty much the entirety of Bon Jovi live in London in 1995, 96, because I would sit on the floor when I was first learning guitar and try to play along to the music. And I think I was physically looking up at these people. And it was Blaze of Glory. I was trying to learn the slide intro to Blaze of Glory without a slide. And there was just something about that song. And whatever. And again, that's another weird one because they're a rock band playing a country western inspired rock song, and it's just this. I think that mismatch of genres that I enjoy. But yeah, I think that's one of my earliest memories of learning that song, and my mum and my sister coming through the door as I'm playing it and kind of going like, oh. And I think there was something in that where I went, I like how this feels when other people enjoy what I'm playing or are impressed by it. So
nice.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
That's when the attention seeking started.
Ah, nice. Oh, well, I've known you all my life, so yeah, that makes sense.
Oh,
Cody?
My dad had a cassette with a bunch of Australian artists, and there was one small indie artist called Dale Braithwaite for sure. And he had a song called How's That? And
How was it?
hearing that song, it was pretty good, honestly. Stood out to me, and it was just like, oh yeah, let me do that. Let me just like shout at people with music playing, because like he just goes for it too. That's a dude who's just like, oh yeah, you know, it's like throwing it right to the top of his register, and I love that stuff. When you hear a singer just like all the way up there, sign me up.
It's me behind the camera most of the time.
Yeah,
And also Darryl Braithwaite, excellent human being in person. So
sweetheart.
It was
lovely.
that was a case of do meet your heroes, because they can be wonderful people. So
He
shout out
he
Darryl,
can
good friend of
go
the pod.
riding on the horses. Yeah.
Good friend of the pod.
Yep.
Here's a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
What's an artist or band that you love that's like your guilty pleasure that might surprise your fans?
There is no such thing as a guilty pleasure. I refuse to believe that.
There absolutely is pleasures
Nope.
you should feel guilty
No,
for. Yeah,
no.
I know the artists that you listen to, Pace, all right? So don't even try me with that. All right?
I have no guilty pleasures. I don't believe in it. I think you should. It's okay to love something unashamedly for whatever it is. I absolutely adore Taylor Swift's early albums. I think Blank Space by Taylor Swift is one of the. I love that song immeasurably. I think that
You should feel guilty for that. You know,
I think The Climb by Miley Cyrus is one of the greatest pop songs ever written.
fantastic.
banger.
I absolutely adore ABBA. I love ABBA. I think ABBA's excellent. These are just things that I think most people wouldn't assume if you heard. Like, I've got plenty of things that people would probably don't
things that
like.
you play and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, if you got in my car and I was like, I absolutely love SOS by ABBA, you might go, oh, really?
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely got a good answer. I was in the bedroom with the partner, laying in bed, and she said, what song describes your day? And I played Best Day Ever from the SpongeBob movie. I love that song, and ironically, that song rocks. And
Goofy
it makes
Goober
me
as
feel
well?
good. Yeah.
Dude,
Goofy Goober.
Goofy
come on.
Goober,
Did
dude.
Aerosmith do the little part for that?
I don't
Where
know.
he jumps out on the tongue and he's like,
Yeah, I don't. Maybe.
Good. Okay, how's it go?
I don't know. Were they on so many drugs?
No, that's the
Kids movie.
yeah, no, definitely that song. I love that song.
Yeah.
Because it's just lovely and cute and fun, and it makes you feel good. And I am ashamed of it when it plays and I'm with clients or other people in the car and they go, what is this? Turn it off. What do you
Wait, Best Day Ever, isn't that? I thought that's the. Is that the leg? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, dude, I really do believe there's no such thing as a guilty pleasure. You should be allowed to like whatever it is that you like, and
It's the perception. It's the perception, because people
Yeah.
then think that I also eat chicken dinosaur nuggets. And
It's also the reason I wind my windows up when I pull up a traffic light so people can't hear what I'm listening to. Because it's most likely going to be Britney Spears.
no, but see, Britney Spears, excellent. There's a lot of pop artists that are really, really good that. I don't know, people for some reason think they have to pretend they don't like. And it's like, it's cool. It's like I never pretended I didn't like Nickelback. I was like, no, they have some amazing songs and I don't care what you say. I will belt Photograph at the top of my lungs. I didn't need a Creed resurgence. I didn't need a Creed resurgence to know that those songs absolutely slapped.
Yeah,
like, I didn't need TikTok to tell me it's okay. I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna listen to it. So yeah, I don't know. There's probably a lot, but those are the ones like off the top of my head. Early Taylor Swift. I think Love Story is great. I love that song. Blank Space. I love Blank Space by Taylor Swift and ABBA. Yeah, heaps. There's probably a lot more that I can't think of. But
Nice.
no, you should. Taylor Swift, you should definitely.
Is there an album you think doesn't get enough recognition? Like an album that you think that slaps. Everybody needs to hear that.
I think this is a recent discovery for me. Al Green's Love and Happiness. I think that it's probably a big album for the people who know a little bit about soul music.
There too. At the end of two. It's organ. The Hammond. Probably.
And that genre, but it's criminal to me the amount of people that haven't heard that song or that album, in my opinion. Yeah. So that would be my definitive pick, but that's a little bit of recency bias. I do think also, as a special mention, the Young Guns 2 soundtrack written by John Bon Jovi is an album of country. It's a soundtrack to the Young Guns film, but the songwriting quality on that is absolutely criminal. That those songs never made it into like a broader appeal. So I think you could easily substitute that whole album for Wanted Dead or Alive and Blaze of Glory, and they would be equally as good as both of those. So
I don't think we'll ever get an album like that again.
never. I truly don't believe that.
Blood Rush to the Head, is that the Coldplay? I think that's what it's called.
Rush of Blood to the
Rush
Head.
of Blood to the Head. Are people that's like, for all of the really great songs that are on there, like, you know, this is Chris Martin at his best, getting pushed to do really great stuff. There's some really great songs in there that just like never really had the massive appeal. Like you look at like Shiva and things like that, where you're like, this song rocks. And they were just at their best. Another Johnny in that band too. Yeah, definitely. That album for sure. And people, just because people love to shit on Chris Martin's new stuff, rightly so. Yeah, they miss out on so much old school Coldplay. Like you go to Parachutes and you backwards from there, you're king.
What? Because obviously you're not playing the songs all the time. You've got to write the songs first. What genres are most influential to you, and how does that affect your songwriting?
I think this is a tough one because songs are a weird conjurer, like a magic that just is conjured out of the ether. And I guess it's tough because a lot of the songs start on an acoustic guitar for me, and they can turn into something that isn't intended by that acoustic guitar. So most people, when you think of acoustic guitars, it's like a country song or it's something like that. But I don't know that a particular genre has influenced me in any way as far as songwriting is concerned, because I've always loved bands like Bon Jovi's a great example, Keith Urban's a great example, where they take a mix of genre and make contemporary music out of it. And I think, probably muddling up my points here, but I like being able to take elements and make something contemporary. I think pop music is an underrated art form in that it is something that takes inspiration from multiple things and finds a lane that is the most appreciated by the most amount of ears simultaneously, and that in and of itself is an art form. So I would say less a genre and more an approach, which is to make really great commercial music that still has a lot of heart to it. So anything that you can classify as that, I would take that and run with it.
Amen. I'd have to say, so with metal and emo and whatever else you want to sort of bunch into that thing, there's always this sensation that I feel that the singer, the lyricist, the music, they're grabbing you by the ears and pulling you into what they're trying to say. Whereas pop music, I don't think they do that enough, where they go like, no, you're going to hear this and you're going to feel it and I'm going to show you what I mean. So I always feel that our music should be something where it's like, if you're not paying attention, you're about to. Because that's why I shout our lyrics. That's why the choruses always go to the top of the register, because it's like, if I'm not breaking through whatever walls you're putting up when you're listening, I'm not doing my job properly.
And one of the most common things that you see during our songwriting is one of us will go, it's got to go up.
It's got to go up.
It's got to go up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every single chorus that we have is pushing the bounds of what I am capable with my voice.
Don't bore us, get to the chorus.
You got it.
Type stuff.
You've got to be grabbing. And I just think there's something really powerful about breaking through people's, breaking through their own thoughts, their own judgments, or whatever, and just being like, this is what I'm trying to say to you. I want you to have this. I care about giving you this. And that, I suppose metal is definitely the only thing where I've seen that. You know, it's like My Chemical Romance. You hear Gerard Way stuff, and it's like he's so emotional, he's so like frantically trying to get his point across to you. Yeah.
Nice, good answers. You're pretty good at songwriting at this point. You've been doing it for quite a while. Is there any song or album that you wish, God, I wrote that. I wish I had something to do with the production of that.
Honestly, too many, and it's because I purposely seek out artists that, in my opinion, are like pushing a boundary, or not even necessarily pushing a boundary, but just doing that version of that thing at the highest level. And the problem is I think, I don't know if this is an insecurity from a songwriting perspective, and songwriting is a very insecure thing. I don't know if you can be, it's a rare breed of person who's incredibly cocky about everything they write, but maybe that's just what happens when you get into a room of yes men who are always going to tell you that you're amazing. But I would say John Mayer's Continuum.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, John Mayer's Continuum, which
Perfect song. Every song's great.
perfect song, perfect placement of that song on an album. It is the greatest example of, in my opinion, guitar-oriented pop music for both its time and it is timeless. He's even said, I'll never write as cohesive and beautiful as an album, even though I would argue, in my opinion, Born and Raised does that with what it's trying to do. But that, I mean, you've got like classic albums, like, I mean, Dark Side of the Moon. But the thing is when I think about whether I was in those recording sessions or not, I would have fucked every one of those albums up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
God, you weren't in the room.
And yeah, and that's the insecurity, because when you asked that question, I thought about it and said, but I would fundamentally change things about those that would probably suit myself, but it would make them less good because of that. So, but again, I don't know if that's my insecurities. Maybe I could sit here and tell you I could have made Continuum a better album if I was there? Probably not.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
See, he stole my answer like the son of a bitch that he is. So, yeah, Continuum is gorgeous through and through. I reckon that all those songs could have been better on the piano, so that's what I'll stand with. John Mayer, yeah, I'll bet you on that, brother. Belief is a banger. Heart of Life is a banger. Even if I just had the opportunity to play the one chord synth in every single one of those songs, I would have been a happy man.
Man, none of you mentioned Savage Garden, Affirmation.
I could. There's a million albums that I could name. Like, just off the top of my head, I would have loved to be a part of the recording of Definitely Maybe by Oasis.
But you're absolutely right, though. It's like, would you have made that better, or would you have taken away what made that by adding to it? Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
I would love to see you in a room with the Gallagher brothers being like, maybe not that long, guys.
yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. No, what would happen was I would say I would say, Noel, probably not your best work, and then he would say, fuck off, cunt. What do you know? I wrote Wonderwall or whatever. And then
swing on you.
You'd be like, fishes and dishes.
Yeah, but again, so frustrating because greatest melody writer of all time, but that's fine. Yeah, no, off the top of my head, man, Definitely Maybe by Oasis. I would have loved to be a part of the Lost Highway album by Bon Jovi when they went completely different direction and were inspired by Nashville. I mean, I feel like it's cheap to pick the albums that are so obviously amazing. Like, it'd be so easy to pick like the Dark Sides of the Moon or the White Album or anything of the Beatles, really, like, you know, the Black Album or whatever. There's a million different things you could pick, but yeah, I think there's a very small number of ones where you desperately go, God, I wish I was a part of that.
I could have definitely made any of Taylor Swift's albums even better by turning off the recording. I'll go. I'm at it now. So,
all right. So you've rubbed the lamp. You down to your last wish.
Yes.
It's you and the genie. And you decide you get to collaborate with an artist. Who's the artist you're going to work with? What's a dream artist?
Carlos Santana.
Smooth.
I want to sing a chorus to him going, yeah, for sure.
For real? You pick Santana?
That'd be sick. Come on. You want to not be a part of Chad Kroeger, Rob Thomas, Aerosmith. I get to be like, yeah, I play the Carlos Santana.
It does feel like...
You get to, then I get to, by proxy, go and talk to Chad Kroeger and be like, I played with Santana as well.
And I didn't have a terrible haircut when I did it.
We can now be buddies. Well, I don't know about that, man.
Must be nice.
I probably have a pretty bad egg. I could go bald for that. That'd be pretty rad. Yeah, for sure. Come on. That's musical royalty. The song would probably be shit, if I'm being honest. Like, it's going to be a great chorus, and then that's it. It's all you need for that. Because it's not about you. His bit has to be really great, and then yours just has to be catchy.
Yeah, fair.
Scratchy.
Yeah, see, that's a tough question because, like, if I only pick one,
So
it's
you can say me. Okay.
yeah, it's a tough question, man, because I think like there's very obvious like heroes of mine that I would love to collaborate with, but I mean, there's hundreds. There's just so many people that it would be a pleasure and an absolute dream to be able to work with. So
Just say Savage Garden.
yeah, I think Darren Hayes would be amazing.
You've met the guy, right?
Yeah, I ran into him in Brisbane.
Weird question, but how did he smell?
Incredible. Smelled amazing. And he was wearing like a...
How did you smell?
Horrible. I bet
See,
he
that's
was
the
like...
question. He's like, "Oh."
Yeah, no, I was
I
indistinguishable.
believe that you can't appreciate good smells until you smell bad ones. That's,
Yeah, I think I smelled indistinguishable from
Yeah.
the footpath that he was walking on, I think. I smelled horrible. I felt terrible. I was sweaty. I was awful. And I was literally...
Two armpits and a stinky, smelly... Yeah, sorry.
I was carrying the book that he'd just written in my bag too, and I didn't think to get it signed or anything. Like, but that was a week I met the Blue Wiggle. Like, you know, I ran into
The
heaps.
girl? Sorry, that's for...
How dare you?
That's for
How
anyone
dare you?
who listens to the new stuff. What about the tree, guys? No, never mind.
How dare you?
Take this off.
Anyway, yeah. So Darren Hayes was incredibly nice, and he smelled fantastic, and he was wearing like this soft. I don't know if it was like velvet tracksuit thing, and it felt so soft, and I just knew I couldn't afford it. I just touched it and went, I'll never own a piece of clothing that expensive, I'm sure. So, but lovely guy.
He's spelling you. Yeah.
And fellow Brisbaneite, shout out from Logan. So that means you can achieve your dreams, kids. So yeah,
Can do it.
yeah.
What's the weirdest argument you've had as a band?
Our weirdest arguments would be me trying to name things.
Yeah, you
Because-
do, and I do actually know we do argue over which line of a song should be the name. I think we started writing a song recently called Slow News Day, and it's interesting because that doesn't actually feature in the chorus anymore, I don't think.
No.
But it's a prominent line at the beginning of the verse, and I was like, I don't care, that should be the title.
It should be called Other Side of Goodbye.
But you said The Other Side of Goodbye, which is the hit line of the chorus, but I was like, there's just something wrong about that.
Yeah, well, that's because you're wrong. That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so it's probably like this weird, there's nothing big, it's always these
Shoes? We did argue for shoes.
we did argue about shoes because
you know,
apparently it matters if
I
you
won
got...
that fight, so...
Yeah, well, you're just lucky that Converse are good lifting shoes, so
True.
double thing, so... Yeah, anyway, so yeah, I think the majority of the fights are never about anything serious. It's never like...
You never punching each other's head in.
No.
Actually, actually, the weirdest fights we have are when other people are in the beat.
Yeah. Most of them are never really that serious, but it's always like... It's just like a married couple. It's always like a little thing.
You get around for long enough, you argue over what kind of chair you should have in a studio. You know, that's how we get.
So tell me about the creative process. Like, if you had to describe the band's songwriting process in one sentence.
Well, I will jump in and use this as a moment to praise. If I could define it in a sentence, I would say 80-20. 80-20. So, and that's I guess partially modesty, but there is a great deal to be said for, we have this sort of saying, like there's an architect and there's an engineer. And those two things, those two jobs do separate things to create something. Like there's the person that engineers it and makes it sort of happen, and then there's the architect who has the grand design. And in some ways we bounce in between those roles, but I would say the creative side of things comes from... I couldn't create the songs into living with all of these other elements without him. And there's often times where a song could only just need a little touch to get better, and that's where I can come in as a bit of a song doctor and just be like, all right, I think there's this part of this that can make this just a little bit more universal, or there's a bit of a song trope that I notice that there's certain words that you go to as sort of like an outline or something. But yeah, so I would say 80-20, and that's just partially modesty, but also my admission that you are very important to making all of this happen.
That's very sweet. It's to the death, and then make it better than that. No. No, I'd probably say like it's... The songwriting process is, what are you trying to say, and are you saying it properly? That feels... Because I feel like, what am I trying to say? And if I can get it together, and then Pace can go, are you saying it properly? Because I think there's a look that he gives you, and some may be gracious and lucky enough to experience this look from Pace. But you can show him a full song and you turn to see his expression just to be like, please, Lord. And he either gives you or he's like, and that face, I dread. It's the Roman, the gladiator.
It is a tough business being on the other end, because I like to write songs too, so I know what it's like to show someone something and basically bare your soul.
You're a bastard for that. The songwriting process with Pace, from my end, is he comes to me with the most beautiful lines and this great chord progression, and it's the whole song in its entirety. Like the story is there in these 2-3 lines. And then he goes, your turn. And I'm like, I'm going to fucking turn this into 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's where we differ, because I think
Am I going to make something out of nothing?
our songwriting, when I mean our songwriting, it's a game of tennis. It's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Whereas you can play the game solo and come out with something really great. Whereas
I'm out of nothing thing is just crazy to me, because it's like a song didn't exist until you sit in Logic or sit on a piano or whatever,
Yeah.
I think that's just insane.
But if you do want to answer the question like specifically, there isn't really a guaranteed way that we work. There isn't
20 pretty
Yeah, it's like there's no sort of like we go into a room at 8, come out at 6, and it's done. Creativity, I think, just doesn't happen that way. There's divine inspiration that comes from nowhere that just happens to work. Like our future singles for a really great example of that. Sideways was almost completely yours, and then Getaway Car.
The post-production was me getting checked into a mental asylum. That's what that was.
Yeah, but then a song like Getaway Car, the inspiration for that song was me, and then it transformed into us. So there's sometimes it's all one, sometimes it's all the other, and oftentimes it's a mixture of the both. But I think if you don't have
someone
both,
has the idea and the other person makes the idea better. I think that's probably the best way to describe
or genuinely turns it into something functioning. Because, like I said, I don't have the production capacity. I can come with ideas, but it would only be an acoustic guitar and a tape recorder, and not a fully fledged thing if I didn't have that. So in the way that I can sometimes be your bowling lanes, you're also the alley. And I've just got a ball and I'm like, hey, I want to play. So yeah.
So you need each other. Yin and yang can do.
Yeah.
We go together.
I was thinking
the Honey and the Bees. Jinx. You owe me a Coke.
So which Art of Mine song do you think best represents the band?
I've actually thought about this a fair bit, and I think
cut you off real quick. Stranded for sure, absolutely. That song pumps from day to dot, start to finish. It's a killer. Great piano, great guitar. Great example of us having so much fun with a song. Whenever you see that song played, I mean, you're going to see the video soon enough, and we can't help but have fun with that song. It's such a jam.
this band's just pouring pods out mid-pod.
I realise we actually can't eat them right now because we have mics on.
Yes. Oh boy, that's gonna be crunchy in them mics. But yeah, I agree. I would say Stranded is a great example of lots of like little great things that make a song awesome. Like I think the version we did doesn't have the guitar riff in it, but that's fine. Like it has a really awesome.
Live, yeah.
You'll get it live, so you have to come and see it. Great guitar riff. The piano is excellent. It's really fun pop music. It's the kind of thing where it's like one of those ones where each person's line that they added to it just infinitely made the song better and exactly what it needed to be. And that's really fun, like when a song sort of falls into place like a puzzle. It's great.
Yeah, because you wrote the chorus, I wrote the verses.
The verses, yeah. I think like it's always hard to remember, like because it's
I wrote the second verse because Set It All Straight I was really proud of.
Yeah.
The second one.
Yeah,
that's a banger through and through. Other than that, I mean,
it's tough because I do think
I'd love to say like there's some great songs that we played like once, like there's a song called Last Stand that was played once at Flaming Galah, and I'll never not want to play that song every time.
I like that song, yeah.
Gorgeous song. Hopefully, I'd love to play it again when my voice isn't about to be destroyed during a set. But no, yeah, definitely Stranded.
Yeah,
starting out of that.
And Getaway Car and Sideways are also excellent, and there's plenty you could pick, but because we have to pick one.
It's the genre thing though, because it's like every song is so different, and they lead you to a different version of the Idle Minds. Whereas like that, if you go from Stranded to the rest of them, it makes sense. Like the leap isn't that far.
Yeah.
Whereas like you start somewhere else and then go to Stranded, you're like, where the fuck did you get there?
Yeah, that's fair.
What are you doing?
Or something like All My Life.
What's my name?
Yeah, which I don't know if that'll ever see the light of day in the way that it should.
So
but
do you hear that squeaky chair?
yeah,
It's gonna
the
break your heart.
voice memo. Yeah, so
You hear the speaker turn on and pop,
yeah.
and the echo and the reverb.
Okay, do you have a favourite song that you've written, and what makes it special to you?
See, I think recency bias always plays a really big hand in this, and I think that says more about how fun it is to write songs. But it's a treadmill that never stops. So you're constantly chasing the feeling of having written a really great song. Sometimes you can trick yourself into thinking the last one you wrote is the best one, but the last one you wrote is usually temporarily your favorite because it feels like you've struck gold again. You know, that's the feeling that you get when you really write something and you know it resonates. Like that doesn't go away. So you're constantly chasing the dragon of that feeling, I think. So I would say the last one that did that for me was Getaway Car, which may be coming to ears sometime this year.
To a cinema near you. Sorry, we're music, right?
To a Spotify streaming service near you. So yeah, I think Getaway Car was the last one that probably did. Actually, I lie because we've since wrote one called Slow News Day. Not close to being properly finished, but when you've got the best parts of it together, like a chorus that sounds that good. Which maybe you'll hear it soon, I don't know. That was the last one that made me feel that way.
Don't look at me like that, Tyler. Okay, I'm trying my best to finish that one.
I'm excited for the world to hear the song.
I really am. I easily Fade.
Fade
rocks.
It's been a while.
But also, Fade rocks because of one note I got from Pace. So the line was, when it first started, it seems Father Time played a fool of me. Because I love using like caricatures and personifying things and going a bit extreme. And he just said, it should be all this time. And then the song immediately went from this high concept, high art, ridiculous, goofy sort of nursery rhyme sounding thing to like, oh, this is like a real song. And I think the duality of how we both feel about it, because I always thought it was like this song of being okay with someone leaving. And obviously Pace had experiences while we were writing this song where it was more towards the idea of someone passing on. And I think that there's this beautiful space where it doesn't need to be decided where this song sits. It can be both.
I think you're right on that because Fade in particular, maybe we'll show you a little clip of that song if we can find it so that we can give some context. I think it is the perfect level of ambiguous that's not ambiguous because it's attempting to do that. It's just the right way of describing a feeling that just happens to be universal in a lot of different ways. I think losing love feels a lot like that. I think losing someone you love, like they pass away, is very similar to the grieving that experiences when you lose someone that you love in a relationship. I don't know, I think it's a very universal feeling. And my initial thoughts behind like the name Fade is about you never really get over someone. It's just that the hurt that you feel of losing them just it doesn't go, it just fades away a little. It just fades, but it's still there always.
Yeah, it's just a stain on the soul. Every time I hear that song, it gives me something new. It's a gift in that way. Because I've definitely had moments where I'm like, oh, I'm talking to myself, like I'm letting something fade from me, And I think that's really lovely. That it's just like, if a song can give you more than one representation of what it's trying to say, that's an honor and a privilege to have made that song.
It is tough because it is like a 5-minute long ballad.
Yeah, well, and if you can't handle a 5-minute ballad, you are a child who watches Coco Melon. So, and I'm taking that out. So if you're a TikTok addict who can't stand more than a minute to get to a chorus, eat the biggest of chodas. My name is Tiny Chodas.
And if that's you, I don't know how you've made it this far into the pod.
Yeah,
but,
you probably didn't. Yeah.
Right.
Well, this has been made into a reel. So, what's next on your list?
So what's the hardest part of songwriting for you? I know you've got some songs in the works, especially Slow News Day. Title still pending.
Yeah.
No, at least I'm not allowed to name things, so it's
I think for me, if I speak probably exclusively to myself, it's coming up with an idea that's worthy to start with, because you can come up with a million great ideas. I'm lying. You can come up with a million ideas and have a million poor songs, and it's very it really is digging for gold to really figure out the thing that works really well. And there's no formula, there's no factory for it. You can't just start with 4 chords and go, oh, okay, we're halfway there, because you're not. It's the melody, the words, everything has to sort of fall into place for you to really go, that's a great song. And you can just make a song that really just is a stream of consciousness slapped together, and it's in, I don't know, G or something, and C, whatever. I think G is there's more hits in G than any other song, whatever.
It's the G spot, something like that.
Disgusting. Anyway, so you could do that, but there is a little bit of magic dust that has to be sprinkled into it, and unfortunately, you can't just conjure that up. It's literally the best creativity comes from. I don't know it.
That's interesting. So yours is the start of the process. I always think my biggest fear of the songwriting process and what stops me from writing songs is knowing when I get to the point that I can't do any more and I have to show you, because I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to do more work. It's that laziness of all right, I've gotten it to the furthest that my capabilities can reach. I need the architect to be like, oh, yeah, right, here's how you fix that.
Yeah, but I get that too, though, because when we both hit a wall, like Slow News Day is a great example. It gets to a point where I don't know exactly what it is that I have left to say, because I already said it in what is the chorus of that song, and I really struggle.
That chorus is such a blast.
Yeah, and I don't know how to wring any more juice out of it, but I know that it's got so much left. You know what I mean? And it's that thing where if you start with something great, the hardest part is knowing you have to replicate it in probably another verse. Or 2.
Put the Slow News Day on the YouTube channel.
Half done and just put the best part in the chorus.
Lightly sucked on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I don't know. Yeah, it's both the initial starting and when you don't have a song fully completed in its entirety that you're happy with, and you're left with basically half of something and you just don't know how to finish it.
Oh, there's nothing worse than when you get a good half of a verse and you're like, I don't know the next bit. Or you get like the really good start to the chorus, and then you're like, "What's the hook line?" I've done this before. Hell and Back is a great example of this song, because I had like all of the chorus except for To Hell and Back Again, and I was like, "Oh, what is this song supposed to be?" And if you can't finish off the thought, it pisses you off, because you're like, "Well, I thought the first part of it. Let me close the chapter on whatever this thing is." And sometimes you do need to, I totally understand when people say it takes me, 6 months to write a verse to this thing, or it took me this long to, stitch something on, because sometimes you don't have you haven't experienced
Sorry, I'll try to warn you on that.
you haven't experienced the thing that allows you to reflect or evaluate those series of thoughts properly. Mm-hmm. And maybe I need to be I need to go and role play as a weatherman for a while to get Slow News Day.
We will have to play. If you have to send me a little couple of these, so I can put them in as little teasers, so people go, "Oh, that's what you're talking about."
Yeah.
No, I feel that way, because with Fade as an example, I started writing that song as a breakup song, and then experienced a loss, and then realized that I finished that song with loss in mind, and it completely changed what that song meant. So, yeah, it's interesting. I think sometimes leaving it and coming back to it is great, but I have that little thing.
Loss, you mean obviously the cricket season?
Yes. Well, no, we won today, so yeah.
This shows how much I care.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a bit off script here. There's a lot that goes into the songwriting, of course, and it seems to be a struggle to find a lot of those good ideas. But where do those strokes of genius or those aha moments find you?
I don't think
In the quiet.
in the quiet.
For sure. It's that moment of like, it's when you lay down in bed or you're watching something aimlessly and you not have your phone there and you go, that's it. It's the moment when you allow yourself not to think about it and you get it. Like Rob Thomas used to sit and sweep in a bank or something.
You're sweeping floors at like some sort of
You need,
factory. Yeah.
You need to allow yourself to get overstimulated by the song and be completely obsessed with it and then lose all interest and then go and do something else and then it'll hit you. Because those moments of quiet when you're just like, I've done it so many times where I'm laying in bed or I'm standing talking to Pace and then I go, that's the line. And then I write it down or whatever. So it's always in when the mind finally goes, all right, I'll give it to you now. You're ready for it. There you go. And then, because then you have the ability to continue the song or whatever it is.
So is that kind of your way of like putting it on the back burner in your mind and it's still cooking and you're just sort of doing your own thing and then it...
I never take it off, but I think it's just like eventually it gets to a point where I'm able to just like not be thinking about it, but I will obsess being insane that I am until it's like when you lay down, you don't physically force yourself to sleep. Eventually you just fall asleep. It's like I'm not intentionally trying to make myself stop thinking about it. I'll just stop thinking about it by doing other stuff and then that muse will come back.
Yeah, I think this is the thing about songwriting is, like I said, it's not a factory where you can start with the chassis and then you build and then you put the wheels on and there's a painting.
Inspired. It has to be. Like everything that's good comes from somewhere and you're never going to be able to tell people who came and sprinkled that onto your brain. You know?
Like I can't actually tell you where, like, for instance, the words "It's a slow news day" came to me. Like I can't pass the time, and all of those things. I don't know why my brain immediately went, "It's gonna rain all of July" as a hit line. Like I don't know why that happened, because for one, July is winter for us. So
the correlation of it's going to rain all of July, the freeways are standstill. Like you just immediately build this imagery, and that was what allowed me to sort of build the song, because I was like, oh wow, okay, there's this a juxtaposition of these two things that don't necessarily collide, and then you've sort of given me the news anchor, like this news report sort of imagery. But yeah, it's inexplainable, but the processes to get to the next bit are very much like just mechanical.
Yeah, and sometimes you can actually look at it almost like objectively, if I can say it that way, and go, what's this trying to say? Oh, it's trying to say this, so it should probably go here. And it is a little bit of just throwing stuff at the wall to inevitably see what sticks. But yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a song that you've written that's surprised you, either in how it's come about or how it's been received?
I think the one that surprised me was Homesick, and that was because it came together so quickly. Looking back now, we probably could have refined it a little better, but there's moments where I think it was Bob Dylan said, if a song's too hard to make, then you're doing it wrong, which makes sense because his songs are just like insane free flow stuff. It's very stream of consciousness type of stuff, but Homesick surprised me, one, by how easy it was, and two, by how good I thought it was. It was the first time I'd ever actually looked at a song and gone, I think we have something that's pretty good here. Like, this is a great song. I still love that song. I think it surprised me because that was the first time I think we had branched off from what was a previous band with a lot of cooks to two people.
A lot of cooked.
Yeah. To two people really putting in and kind of finding a common vision. And that was when I went, oh, this can work. Like, this could actually be something really good. And I don't know, that song it came from a pure place. It came quickly, came easy. That doesn't always happen. So Slow News Day is a great example of it, not always. Bob Dylan can fucking suck it from the back.
Get the balls in the way. I can be better. For sure. I wrote that song with no intention, it was just sort of a confessional, I'm just going to be lazy and not do that thing today. And then a series of men I will never, ever hope to achieve the level of masculinity these gentlemen have come to me and say they helped them through their dark times is insane. It being like, they found peace in it. When I was just like, oh, I'm feeling sad today, so I'm not going to do this stuff. And they're like, this is how we feel, but can't say.
Yeah.
How do you decide then when a song's actually finished? You know, if you get these songs that you're like, wow, that's crazy, that's something.
When we stop
Is it
arguing.
ever really finished?
No, yeah, it's right. When you stop arguing about it, that's about
When
it.
the argument's done, when you both go, yeah, that's it. Because until it needs to be to the death, no holds barred argument until it's not. Because until it's not, you haven't made something that you're both proud of. And I think you need to both be able to stand behind a song if you work in a partnership, at least.
100%.
Because there's bits and pieces of songs where I'm like, I snuck that right in at the finish line and he still hates it. So, I can't say the same because he just writes brilliant lyrics. But
All right, dream venue to play. You play anywhere. Where would you play?
Is it
can we do this on three?
is it only one?
Yeah, only one.
Okay, yeah.
Can you count to three and then we'll
3,
both say the same
2,
thing?
1.
Yeah.
Wembley.
Wembley. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a joke starting off when we were writing like the early Isle of Mine songs. We would put the demos into our messenger and it would just be like Wembley when.
Yeah.
And we still say that to this day, Wembley when. Because it was just like we were just so self-assured when we
100%.
stuff. We're like Wembley when.
When you finish your show at Wembley, we'll do this behind backstage.
The
Yeah.
episode will be called Wembley when.
Wembley now.
Wembley now.
Wembley now.
Wembley then.
Wembley then. That's good too.
No, I think I would also like just for like dream venues would be amazing to play Brisbane Entertainment Centre.
Fortune musical as well.
Fortitude Music Hall would be amazing. Like obviously like Royal Albert Hall would be incredible. Like there's so many in America. It would
with
be
the orchestra.
yeah. I mean, there's theaters all over. Like there's so many like interest. Even just in Australia alone, that would be amazing. Like even just. I mean, yeah, the music hall would be crazy because I see so many gigs there. So, I mean, even the Tivoli. I love the Tivoli.
City Hall.
City Hall would be amazing.
City Hall's fantastic.
Yeah.
The acoustics in there.
Yeah, let me play the organ.
But what's your biggest guilty pleasure song then?
Like I said, I don't have guilty pleasures. So
You're inherently wrong with that one, but that's okay.
it would easily have to be, if you're just looking objectively at like what would be considered a guilty pleasure.
No, it's the intro to Marlboro Man.
My guilty pleasure is watching the.
Your guilty pleasures are the hits that Bon Jovi had.
Yeah, that's actually, dude. It's so funny. I don't know that I've ever actively sought out. I can tell you with complete certainty, I have never said to myself, I'm going to listen to Living on a Prayer and Wanted Dead or Alive today. Never do I do that. It's always I'm going to the deep cuts of the albums from that no one else listens to.
My guilty pleasure is U2. Anytime they come, I'm like, I'm not going to tell anybody else this.
But that's like, everyone loves them.
Not me.
Yeah, fair.
It's just their sound is interesting. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a great songwriter. I just like the sound of the band. I'm like, all right, one song's enough.
They got that one song. One?
Yeah, you're on that. You featured on that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I got the high notes on that song.
Yeah.
No, I think like if you're going purely off of the stereotype of what people typically don't like to admit that they love, I would definitely say it's a tie between SOS by ABBA and Blank Space by Taylor Swift, for sure.
Nice.
But I don't feel guilty about that at all.
Well, who's the biggest perfectionist?
Him.
Yeah, I'm definitely the biggest perfectionist, but I am a hypocritical perfectionist in that I probably expect more. Actually, no, that's probably a lie. I think I do expect more from myself, but sometimes my pursuit of what I'm thinking is perfection, I don't know what it is that I'm looking for, and that can be tough. Because I go, it's not quite right, but I can't articulate to you what it is that I don't like. Well, I could probably explain sort of where, like the areas that I don't like, but I've always said if you're going to offer criticism, you should be able to offer an equal suggestion. And it's really tough to only be able to offer criticism and not know exactly what it is. And that gets harder from a songwriting perspective especially when it was your song to start with and you give it to someone and you're expecting them to add to it and they don't add to it in the right way. Like that's their fault, like for not understanding the song that you're trying to write. And it feels like an egregious, theft or like, some sort of like act upon you where you're like, how dare you think that's where that was supposed to go? And it's like, they don't know. They can't jump into your brain and understand it, which is, again, why Homesick as a song was so easy. Because it's just like, it was like we were both painting on the same page. Like, we both knew exactly what it needed. So, Yeah, I think.
That's why Homesick was so sick.
So yeah, I'm definitely the perfectionist, but I'm probably the worst one to be the perfectionist. But you also are sometimes so chill with certain things that it
I'm lazy.
yeah.
I'm such a creative slob. I'm just like, yeah, that's good. That's a good enough take.
That gets me to the end, therefore it's fine because all the other stuff is good.
There's so many solos that you've done where I'm like, that you could probably do that better. And that's why I've started being like, would you be happy if that's the take that I use? And you're like, no. And then so we go do more. Because I would just, it's abundantly clear that I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the funniest when things go wrong on stage?
Actually, arguably Cody, because maybe it's the perfectionist thing. Like when things go wrong for me, I get furious and I go inside myself as like I almost don't want to be there. Whereas I find you are a show must go on type, and we'll just go, yep, well that is what it is. Keep going, and then you're more angry after.
Oh yeah, but when I know that I messed it up, I'm going to be infuriated for the rest of my life. I'm never going to get over it. But during the show, no one needs to know if there was a mess up or anything. They'd just be like, it can just be fun and light, and I think it's a great story when things change and you're able to come back and be like, oh, remember that crazy show we did in a bowling alley where the sound sucked?
With one PA speaker,
and the bass just blew out everything, and I'm like hitting all the,
Yeah, backline provided.
Flaming galah, and I lose my voice halfway through, and now the rest of the songs are going to sound bad, but I just fake it. I love that stuff.
Yeah, no, backline provided, and it's one speaker for a 4-piece band. In a bowling alley.
I love that stuff.
How do you play in a bowling alley?
Yeah, good question. Poorly.
Yeah,
Very poorly. And like the karaoke.
No, I crushed it. I don't know what the other guys are doing, but I crushed it. We're all playing 3 separate songs.
Yeah, the
You just
karaoke.
word with yourself on the drive home.
Yeah.
The karaoke machine in the corner was a better option. Honestly, arguably. So.
So album chats. Bass.
Yeah, so this is a segment that we wanted to do where I feel like we should pick an album which might help you guys understand our sort of music tastes. So I might go last because I prepared like an A+. Yeah, I'm a little A+ student. So Tyler, what about you? Like, what's your album? So the idea is you pick an album, explain why the songs on it you think are great, why they're great, and what songs people should go and listen to.
Yeah, sweet. So my favorite album is actually a soundtrack to a movie. It's the Top Gun soundtrack. Top Gun, the original motion picture soundtrack, 1986.
Mm-hmm.
That whole album just slaps. I know that I can put that on and I can come in at any point on the album and I'll get revved up. Especially, I just the long guitar solos.
So 80s, man.
It's got the 80s vibe, like the real, like, I don't know how to describe it. Just like, go listen to it. And also watch the movie if you haven't watched it. Surely you've seen the movie. But yeah, I love that album.
And if you were to tell people to go and listen to the songs, what songs should they go and listen to?
Mighty Wings. Is that the name of the song? Yeah.
I don't know, man. You're telling the story, brother.
Danger Zone's a good one as well.
Of course.
Hot Summer Nights. Hot Summer Nights is the best song on the album.
Nice.
Hot Summer Nights. That's what you'll get.
And it sounds better if you play.
No, it sounds better if I just sing it for you. Actually, if you want to listen to it, just give me a call.
This is why he's High Note Media.
107-252. Call me up anytime. If you want to get revved up.
What was that number?
0493-107-252.
Australia.
I really hope that's not your actual number.
Nah, it's not.
Australia code is 61.
Whose number is that?
I don't know, call it and you'll find out.
Maybe you'll get revved up. Call that number and say, I want to get revved up. And if you do, you're going to hear something that's going to rev you up. Call this number for a good rev up. You know?
What's that? There's that guy that you call them when they beef. Like, I can't remember it anyway.
All right, moving on. So call Tyler to get revved up to the sounds of Top Gun, High Note Media. What about you, Cody? What's your album? What is the album? Who's the artist? Why do you love that album, and what songs should people listen to?
Oh, we're going right off the deep end with this one, boys and girls. This album is called Approaching Normal by Blue October. Justin Furstenfeld. I could kiss that man on the lips with tongue for the songs that he's given us for this one. Nothing but heart-wrenching, emotional, confessional things that it is if you are have your hands up against the glass of his therapy sessions and he's just bearing his soul to you in a way that is so private and personal and so real. And like, he's not painting himself as the hero. He's not painting himself as like the winner the way that a lot of songwriters would. He's like, no, I was a piece of shit. I'm doing piece of shit stuff. I'm not a good guy here. And that is so impressive because the urge to do the opposite is so easy. I love that.
The confessional nature of it.
You get to be the hero. You get to be the hero if you're writing a song. But he's like, no, I'm going to let you know that I'm not the good guy in this. There's a song at the end of the album called The End. And it is quite literally his fantasy of coming back to his house that his ex-wife is now having sex with someone else in. And he comes in and kills them both in the middle of the night. That's the end of the album, is him killing them and killing himself. Tell me another songwriter who's willing to say what every man would do in that position. You know what I mean? That's the thought that they have. They're like, oh, well, she's taken all my money and she's taken my kid from me and she's putting these allegations out onto the planet and then she's sleeping with someone else in a bed that I paid for. Like, he's willing to be like, I thought this and I still believe it, you know? He still plays that song a lot. There's another song called Kangaroo Cry that is gorgeous because it's literally just the idea of him being in court with her and she's like crocodile tears. You know, this whole thing of like, you're just bullshitting everybody and no one else can see you the way that I see you. And I think that's so impressive. But then the song tricks you because you think he's talking about her the whole way through and then it's actually his dad talking to him. And he's like, you're lying. You're trying to change the narrative. You're an addict. You did all this stuff. Like, you're not a victim. You're just as bad as her. You just aren't willing to admit it. And I think that's crazy that a songwriter is willing to be like that vulnerable and open with the truth. Blue October, Approaching Normal. The two songs are Kangaroo Cry and The End.
Nice. And then also our drummer Rob suggested The Gold Experience by Prince, which I did listen to, and I'd never actually heard that album before. So I don't know if you guys probably don't have much to say about this.
Nothing but bangers. It grooves the whole way through. It is odd. If you think
wacky.
If you think you know Prince because of the hits, listen to this because this is the epitome of why everyone says he's the greatest musician of all time.
I bet you don't know shit about Prince.
No, for real. It's one of those ones where I only really knew Prince from the Purple Rains and the Red Corvettes, like all those kinds of songs that...
The Orange Clouds.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's, only from the really big hits. And I think, that song, I'm glad, that album, I'm glad I listened to because it opened my eyes to him and I realized he's a really multi-talented individual. And if you only know him because of that, if the hits like Purple Rain and stuff like that, I would suggest you go and listen to that because P-Power, the song that opens it, is going to blow your mind and you're going to say, there's no way this is the Purple Rain guy. Which Prince should never be the Purple Rain guy. That's so dismissive of what an artist he is. But yes, awesome album, and I'm glad Rob suggested it. And he did say he was going to send us a video to make up for the fact that the last time we recorded this podcast, technical issues, we're terrible at this. He will send a video through, hopefully, so that will go in somewhere around here. So,
and you, sir, you brought a visual aid being the good A+ student that you are.
Yes, so this is partially because I spent $100 on this record, and I just needed to justify my purchase. So my album is Islands by Bears Den, which just had its 10-year anniversary, which is scary to think about because I was there when this album came out, and Wow, time passes, huh?
Well, that dude's 65. So.
So Bears Den Islands, Bears Den Islands, their debut record. This is the Impressed limited edition vinyl for the 10-year anniversary. So it's so beautiful that I haven't taken it out of the packaging yet. But I think the reason that I love this album so much is because it was an antidote to the hey-ho, hipster, flannelette wearing, barista folk music that came out in that period of time. It was the Lumineers. It was the what was the other guys? The
Mumford & Sons.
The Mumford and Sons era of, like I said,
Mumford & Sons.
yeah, it was that era of folk, and this felt like an antidote where it took that style of music but made it into something that was a little bit more artistic, in my opinion. And it's one of the rare albums where I think from start to finish it is something that you can listen to on vinyl, and there's not a song worth skipping the whole way through. I think the singles that came off of it, which were Agape and Above the Clouds of Pompeii, are well deserving of being the singles. In saying that too, there's also songs on the album like Think of England and The Love That We Stole that are equally unbelievable songs. And I'm not surprised that, in my opinion, the albums that followed this had a tough act to follow. And I still think 10 years on, this stands the test of time. Whereas that hey-ho, Lumineers, flash in the pan stuff never did what this album did. And I hope nothing but the best for these guys. And that is why I paid $100 for the vinyl. So, yeah, give it a listen. I love it. It is really for the folk lovers out there. It's not maybe a universal album for everyone, but I absolutely adore it. So, and it's also a testament to Spotify's. Say what you will about Spotify, but the ability for me to accidentally stumble onto a band that inevitably became one of my favorite bands and one of my favorite albums of all time, which is an ever-growing list. It's never limited by numerical value, but I found it by Spotify suggestions. Weekly. The Spotify Weekly. Spotify Weekly, yeah, was what it's called. And they randomly put me onto this album, and I'm forever grateful for that. So, yeah.
Thank you, robots.
Yeah, thank you, algorithms, for determining everything I've listened to since. Appreciate it. But if you're spot on, it is what it is.
Stop sending me pictures of naked black guys kissing.
Well, I'll be honest, this podcast has been an absolute nightmare to finish. It has taken several technical difficulties. That's just the price you pay for getting back into the groove of things, but it's done now. That's the end of our first installment of Scratch Tracks. Hopefully many, many more to come. We'll be joined by, hopefully, our lovely drummer and also our lovely production assistant, Tyler, here, our man behind the camera who's now sitting in front of it. Again, Scratch Track, it's rough around the edges, but it gets you where you need to go, and I think that's what this is going to be. So I'm super excited to do more of these. Again, we've got singles coming out. That's no big secret anymore. Big shout out to Stuart, who's done an excellent job on those. We can't wait to get those out to you. Future podcasts, we're going to bring on some really great people to share their music with you, and we'll have our own original and covers coming up to you in the coming weeks. So keep your eyes and ears peeled and open. Is that what you would say? I don't know.
Keep your ears peeled and your eyes open.
100%.
Yeah.
And
Batman.
make sure you subscribed, liked, following, doing all of that, all of the embarrassing stuff.
If
and
you don't, I'll find you.
Anyway, that's everything. So thanks, boys, for the third version of the first pod ever.
Nice.
Awesome.
Feels good to be back, right?
Yeah.
Even though it feels good to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. Just don't call it a comeback. And also listen to Homies by ICP.
Homies.
Homies.
Homies.